Hey, everybody, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Always fun to be back.
So today we're going to be talking about something a little different and I think pretty interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
We're going to be looking at how corporate environmental sustainability,
Uh-huh.
CES,
CES, yeah.
can actually benefit a field that you might not think has a lot to do with going green.
Right.
Industrial organizational psychology
Yeah.
or IO
Yeah.
psychology.
Yeah, it's not an immediate connection that people would make.
No, not at all. And actually, this whole deep dive was sparked by one of you listeners.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
You sent in a 2013 paper by Herman Aquinas,
Okay.
and just a heads up,
Yeah.
it's Aquinas
Okay.
like the beer Guinness,
Oh, got it. Okay.
Aquinas and Antiglavas.
Okay.
And the paper is called "What Corporate Environmental Sustainability Can Do for Industrial Organizational Psychology."
Catchy title.
So IO psychology, really quick, is all about understanding how people behave at work,
Yeah.
how teams function, how organizations can create just a more productive and satisfying work environment for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Like how to improve job performance,
Yeah. Right.
boost teamwork, or like why is it that one manager just can't seem to get their team going?
Right.
All of that falls under IO psychology.
Yeah.
But what Aguinis and Glavis are saying is that by looking at CES, we can actually address some of the bigger challenges that IO psychology is facing as a field.
Like what kind of challenges are we
Right.
talking about?
Well, they talk about these two big gaps that we need to bridge.
Okay.
One is what they call the science-practice gap.
Okay, so what is that?
Well, this is actually a really common issue in a lot of scientific fields.
Right.
You have all of this incredible research happening in universities and labs, but sometimes it's really hard to take those findings and apply them to real-world problems.
Okay.
So it's like there's this disconnect
Yeah.
between what researchers are interested in and what practitioners actually need.
So almost like IO psychology is speaking a different language than the businesses it's trying to help.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And that's where CES comes in.
Okay.
Because when IO psychology focuses on CES, the research is grounded in these real pressing needs
Uh-huh.
that organizations are facing as they try to navigate this whole sustainability thing.
Okay. That makes
It
sense.
makes the research more relevant, you know?
Right, like it has an actual application.
Exactly.
Cool. Okay, so then the other gap that they talk about is the micro-macro gap.
Yeah.
So explain that one to me.
So IO psychology has traditionally looked at things on a very individual level.
No.
Like,
Okay.
how can we improve this person's performance, or how does this team dynamic work?
Right.
It's very micro-focused.
Yeah.
But CES forces us to zoom out,
Right.
to think about the bigger picture,
Okay.
the organization as a whole and how it fits into society.
So CES provides a bridge for IO to go macro.
Yeah, exactly.
But how does it actually do that? Like, what does thinking bigger even look like?
Well, the paper talks about how tackling CES requires this systems approach.
Okay.
You can't just focus on individual behaviors if you want to understand how an organization can be more sustainable.
Right, you have to consider the policies and the leadership and, like, the culture, the whole,
Everything, the whole thing.
how it all interacts.
Exactly. It's like, yeah, you've got to look at individual employees, sure, but then you've got to look at the organizational systems, the industry the company is in,
Okay.
even societal norms and values.
Wow.
All of this feeds into the idea of corporate environmental sustainability.
Okay.
And one of the key things that they talk about in this paper is this idea of embedded CES.
Embedded CES.
Yeah.
I mean,
So this is where sustainability isn't just some side project or
Right.
like a PR stunt.
yeah,
It's actually woven into the DNA of the company.
I like that embedded CES.
Yeah.
And they give some examples in the paper, right?
Yeah, they do. They talk about,
Like GE's Eco-Imagination program.
yes.
And IBM's Smarter Planet Initiative. So these are companies that are actually walking the walk, right?
Yeah.
They're not just donating to environmental charities or something.
Right.
They're actually using their core expertise
Yeah.
to develop environmentally friendly products and solutions.
Exactly, like wind turbines, smart grids.
Right.
Not just slapping a recycled sticker on something and calling it a day.
Yeah. So it's not about appearing sustainable.
Right.
It's about making sustainability a core part of how you do business.
Your business strategy, your operations.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's interesting from a business perspective.
Uh-huh.
But think about what that means for the people in those organizations.
Right.
Like, how do you actually implement such a huge cultural shift.
Yeah.
How do you design jobs and
Yeah.
systems
Yeah. How do you get people on board?
that support this new focus on sustainability?
Right. Are they going to be resistant? Are they going to be excited about it?
How do you even get buy-in from everyone, from the CEO all the way down to
To
the...
the frontline employees.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where IO psychology comes in, right?
Yeah.
It's like this whole new area of research and practice just opens up.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you measure success in a company that's prioritizing both profit and the planet?
Right. What does that even look like?
Yeah,
What
exactly.
kind of leadership style do you need to really champion these sustainability efforts?
Right.
And then how do you make sure that employees feel motivated and engaged in this new environment?
It's so much more complex than just like looking at, how fast can somebody complete this one task?
Totally.
And it makes you realize that sustainability isn't just like a business decision.
Uh-huh.
It's a values-based decision too.
100%. And that leads us to another really interesting way that CES can change the game for IO psychology.
Okay.
It forces the field to be more explicit about its own values.
Well, that's interesting because, IO psychologists are always talking about wanting to enhance human well-being.
Right.
But it's also a field that really prides itself on objectivity. So it almost feels like sometimes researchers shy away from like taking a strong stance on certain issues.
Right. It can feel a little bit wishy-washy sometimes.
Yeah.
But with CES, you can't really be neutral.
Okay.
You either believe that sustainability is important
All right.
or you don't.
Yeah.
It forces everyone to really confront their values and think about how those values are shaping their work.
So how does that actually play out in practice?
Well, take something like test score banding in personnel selection.
Okay, so this is where instead of just hiring the person with the highest test score,
Yeah,
you group people with like similar scores into these bands, right?
exactly.
And then you consider other factors like experience or diversity goals
Right.
when you're making your hiring decisions.
Within those bands.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of an attempt to make the process more fair and equitable.
Exactly. But it's also a really controversial topic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, some people argue that it sacrifices efficiency for the sake of fairness.
Uh-huh.
And that debate really gets to the heart of values in IO psychology. Interesting.
Even if we don't always acknowledge it, our values influence every choice we make.
Yeah.
The research questions we ask, the solutions we come up with,
Right.
CES just makes us be more upfront about it.
It's like CES is holding up a mirror to IO and saying, okay, time to walk yourselves.
Yeah, exactly. And that actually leads us to the third way that CES can really shake things up.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
It challenges us to rethink how we view employees. So instead of seeing employees as these like cogs in a machine, right?
Right.
The replaceable resources that
Yeah.
you just kind of use up and spit out.
Right.
CES encourages us to see them more as long-term investments,
Okay.
as partners in creating a sustainable future.
That's a pretty big shift from like the traditional,
Yeah.
maximize profit at all costs kind of mentality.
It is a big shift.
Yeah.
And it actually ties in really nicely with this idea from business theory called the resource-based view of the firm, or RBV for short.
Okay, I've heard of that. Yeah. So it basically says that a company's competitive advantage comes from the resources that it controls.
Uh-huh.
And that includes its human capital, right? Its people.
Yeah, so instead of just trying to get, every last drop of productivity out of employees,
Right.
companies should be more focused on like their growth and their well-being.
Exactly. Because if you want to be successful in the long run,
Yeah.
you need to invest in your employees.
Makes sense.
Make sure they have the skills they need. Give them opportunities to learn and grow.
Right.
Create a work environment where they feel valued and respected.
Because if employees feel like they're just cogs in a machine, they're probably not going to be very motivated to help the company achieve its sustainability goals.
I mean,
Right? They're going to be like, well, why should I care?
Right, exactly.
If you don't care about me.
Yeah, and this shift in perspective, it has some pretty big implications for how IO psychologists approach things.
Like what kind of things?
Well, think about hiring, training, performance management, even those like unwritten psychological contracts.
Right. Those unspoken agreements
Exactly.
between employees and employers.
All of that needs to be looked at through a CDS lens.
Okay, so break that down for me. Like, how would those things look different?
Okay, so imagine a world where personnel selection isn't just about finding someone who can do the job today.
Uh-huh.
It's about finding someone who can grow with the company.
Right.
Someone who's passionate about sustainability
Right.
and wants to contribute to building a more sustainable future.
So you're not just looking at their skills and experience.
Right.
You're looking at their values.
Their values, their potential for growth.
Their potential. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then training and development would focus on preparing employees for the skills they'll need in the future,
Okay.
which might be skills that don't even exist yet,
Right.
as the company adapts to this changing world where sustainability becomes even more important.
That's like future-proofing your workforce.
Exactly.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting. And what about performance management?
Yeah,
Right.
so performance management wouldn't just be about evaluating past performance.
Uh,
It would be about setting goals for future development,
okay.
fostering a growth mindset, making sure that individual goals are aligned with the company's overall sustainability mission.
It's a much more holistic approach, right?
Yeah,
Looking at the whole employee and their potential rather than just like their output.
exactly. And those psychological contracts that we talked about,
Uh-huh.
those would need to be rewritten.
How so?
Well, companies would need to demonstrate a real, genuine commitment to sustainability
Okay.
and to the well-being of all of their stakeholders, not just their shareholders.
Right, because actions speak louder than words.
100%.
If a company is saying all the right things about sustainability,
Right.
but then they're treating their employees poorly,
Yeah, or engaging in unethical practices.
right,
Total disconnect.
that's going to create a lot of distrust and disengagement.
Yeah, for sure. And finally, there's one more point about CES that I think is really crucial for the future of IO psychology.
Okay, what's that?
It's this need to break out of our silo and collaborate with other fields.
I love cross-disciplinary collaboration.
Me too.
So what other fields are we talking about here?
Well, think about it. CES touches everything, right?
Yeah.
We need to work with engineers to design sustainable workplaces and products.
Okay.
We need to partner with IT specialists to figure out how to use technology to find environmental solutions.
Right.
We need to collaborate with environmental scientists to understand the impact of our work on the planet.
It's like IO psychology becomes the glue that holds all of these different fields together.
In a way, yeah, because people are at the heart of all of it.
Right.
And IO psychologists, we understand human behavior, motivation, teamwork.
Yeah.
And that's crucial for coming up with innovative solutions to these complex sustainability challenges.
So IO psychologists are kind of like the sustainability whisperers,
I like
helping companies navigate these like uncharted waters.
Oh, I love it.
And think about something as fundamental as job analysis,
Yeah,
which is like a core element of IO.
totally.
In a green economy, jobs are going to be evolving so rapidly.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to need entirely new skill sets, new ways of thinking about work.
For sure.
And IO psychologists need to be at the forefront of that change.
Absolutely.
So if you were designing a green job from scratch,
Okay.
what would be the most important element to include?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I think beyond the technical skills required for that specific job, it would be crucial to make sure that the work itself is meaningful
Okay.
and aligns with the employees' values.
That makes sense.
People want to feel like their work has a positive impact,
Right.
that they're making a difference in the world.
Yeah, it's hard to feel motivated if you don't believe in what you're doing.
Exactly, and that's what's so exciting about CES. It offers a chance to design work that's not just motivating, but also meaningful work that aligns with our values and contributes to building a better, more sustainable world.
I think that's a great place to wrap things up for today.
Yeah.
So to all our listeners out there, we've explored some pretty thought-provoking ideas today. We've seen how CES can push IO psychology to be more relevant, more values-driven, and more future-focused.
Yeah. It's really exciting stuff.
It is.
It's like a call to action for the whole field.
Right.
To step up and play a key role in creating a world where business success and environmental sustainability can coexist.
And not just coexist, but like thrive together.
Exactly.
Yeah, this has been an amazing deep dive. I
Yeah.
feel like we've just scratched the surface.
Yeah, there's so much more to explore here.
There is. So to all our listeners out there,
Yes.
think about everything we've talked about today. All these different ways that CES could revolutionize the workplace. What do you think are the biggest obstacles to actually making this happen?
Yeah, where's the resistance coming from?
Is it from companies that are just stuck in their old ways of doing things?
Yeah, are they too afraid to change?
Or is it from employees who just aren't on board with the whole sustainability mission?
Yeah, maybe they don't see the value in it.
Or is it something else entirely, something we haven't even thought of?
I'm sure there are factors we haven't even considered.
Yeah, well, we want to hear from you.
Definitely let us know your thoughts.
So keep those brain gears turning, deep divers.
Keep thinking critically.
And until next time, stay curious.